Last year, I gave a talk about fracking, describing the process, the serious environmental risks associated with it, and the failure of regulatory agencies to enforce our national standards for clean air and clean water. I challenged all of you to see the issue in the broader context that how we use our land, our landscape, and our water is a decision that should reflect all our community values. It's not about whether or not fracking bans are an infringement on the rights of private landowners. Short-term gain, whether it be for the few profiteer energy companies or for the many in artificially depressed energy prices, only kicks the real question down the road for another generation. That question concerns our fossil fuel addiction and truly addressing the issue of climate change. Well, all of that is so last year. This year, though, there's good news and some bad news, but maybe the bad news is good news. First of all, in the environmental realm, earthquakes, often deemed environmentalist propaganda, there's been seismic activity all around drilling sites in the country, including high activity in Oklahoma with a recent earthquake registering 5.6 on the Richter scale. Scientists from Columbia University and the University of Oklahoma have found the link between the injection zones and seismic activity, quote, compelling. And in their report, they said that the quakes are almost certainly man-made. However, lacking direct and absolute causality, the Oklahoma Corporation Commission, which regulates oil and gas activity in the state, continues to take a wait-and-see attitude. In chemical exposure, in December, the Journal of Endocrinology published a study looking at endocrine disruptors in hydraulic fracking drilling areas in the water supply and found higher than normal levels of estrogenic and androgenic chemicals, as high as 89% in water samples taken in Garfield, Colorado. And Water Conservation Series, a nonprofit group looking to educate investors on sustainability issues, found that more than 55% of the wells that were fracked between 2011 and 2013 were in areas experiencing drought, and that nearly half of these were in areas in high or extreme water stress regions. So like I said last year, the process may seem like magic, but it's magical thinking to think that it's risk-free. The good news, our mayor, de Blasio, came out against fracking in the state until it's proven safe, citing danger to our water supply. Along with chefs for the Marcellus in the state of New York, Alice Waters and other California chefs have joined together to oppose fracking in that state as well. As it was at this time last year, Governor Cuomo has not issued approvals or licenses for fracking in the state, although he said that a decision would be made in time for next year's gubernatorial election. So let's keep the pressure on. So that's about fracking and the process and the environmental impacts, but what about natural gas and how it impacts all of us? The natural gas boom has led to a massive supply, pushing gas prices, worldwide gas prices, downward. That's great, right? Not so much. Quoting the New York Times in December, if electricity prices were slightly higher, renewable sources of energy would flourish. Experts saying lowering carbon emissions. But electricity prices are being forced down by cheap natural gas. So fracking puts human health at risk, plays fast and loose with our land and our water, and does not solve our energy problems, and only delays our addressing the issue full on while adding to climate change in the process. And the last piece of good news is that there's a new verse to the song, "This Land Is Your Land," written by now passed on songwriter, activist, environmentalist Pete Seeger, and debuted this summer at Farm Aid with the help of Neil Young and Willie Nelson and John Mellencamp. The last line is, "New York was made to be frack-free."